Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Wild Woman podcast. Today, I have an energy therapist from the west coast of Ireland with me, Marian Trench. She's based in Roscommon for those of you who are in Ireland, and if not, you can look it up on the map and find out. So, Marian has a really, I think, very important story to tell that has led her to the work that she's now doing in the world, really serving and helping others. What it shows is that all of us have stories, all of us have had to overcome challenge. And it's just wonderful to hear from people who have put their life experiences to use in service of others. And that's exactly what Marian is doing. She'll talk to us about the different therapies she works with, but I know she works with bioenergy therapy, Reiki, food intolerance testing, and a lot of other modalities. She also holds a lot of workshops on stress and anxiety, which I think we can all relate to in the world that we live in. So just very big welcome to you today, Marian. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Celine. Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me. And so good to be here, so
good.
Yeah, hope it helps.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I think I'm just really feeling it from every woman I've been talking to recently. It's just the importance of telling our stories, the importance for ourselves, but the importance for those who listen, who may be going through something similar, who may be struggling. And yeah, I just think I found that to be of such help in my life as well. So I just want to start, we'll go back into, what led you into your work, but just to start with today, I'd just like to ask you, what really inspires and excites you when you get up in the morning in terms of your life and what you're doing?
Well, my family, first of all, okay, yeah, so that is key. That is my life. They are my life, Yeah, so my two kids, my husband, our life together. And that's what all of this is about. This is, I suppose, one of the reasons why I do what I do is that because of my own pain, and only through going through the pain did I actually realize that the unhealed part of me can pass on to the next generation if I didn't deal with my pain. And most of the time it's unconscious, so when we know better, we do better, but I myself thought illness was an outside force, but in actual fact, it was all created from within, but due to life circumstances. For me, it was definitely life circumstances, and but also picking up on the energy from around me. And I do this work. So going back to answering what you said in relation to what excites me, then going into my job, So I love working with people. I love helping people. It was never part of my plan. I'm at this since 2008, and I really get a good buzz out of working with people. Initially, when I started at this, I suppose, going deeper into it, not deeper into it, but I was leaving a full-time job and working in this in a practice, and trying to get my feet on the ground, I suppose, as regards this working with people. But excites me seeing them. It excites me when I see them getting well. It excites me when people get their own light bulb moment. When they get the treatment, they get a little bit of knowledge and understanding as to why they are the ways they are, or what's causing their ailment. I work with the emotions. I work with the link between the mind and the body, and usually what's going on in the body or the mind is all created from the mind, or what we're putting into our system. So stress is part of everybody's life, and so for me, I had no idea, what stress levels or high stress levels can actually cause and do to a person. Everybody, as I said, has stress in their life. So working with people and trying to educate them around that is big for me. And I am passionate about it, I love it. I have to say I love it, you know. So that's basically why I do it, because of my own story. If
Mm.
I can overcome this, anybody can. You know, does it take work? Yeah, it does. Does it take looking at and peeling back the layers? It does. Um, there's a reason. There is a reason. It's usually in within ourselves. The answer lies within. Um, you know, when people would come to me and they just say, Marian, I just don't feel myself, they're actually telling me exactly what's wrong. There's just they're they're picking up on the energy around them. And next thing, it can be so confusing for them as well, because there is a physical manifestation, may not show up on a machine, but they're still not feeling right. But every machine or every MRI or CAT scan or whatever may have shown fine, but they are not feeling fine. But sometimes it can be in sympathy with somebody else's pain, and they're carrying the pain. The person who is sick is in pain, and it's just working. Energy is vast. We're
Yeah.
all interconnected, you know. So that's basically, so it's working with unraveling that, but releasing an emotion, whether that emotion is theirs or not. We can identify that, we can work with it. We can help people just unleash the healing within themselves. They have to see then themselves whether they have to change or not. It's up to
Mm.
themselves. So it's basically, it's like shining the light on the problem. And
Mm.
I cannot or would not tell somebody what to do. It's not my thing, but I just tell them what the problem is. So how they address it is up to themselves. But usually what happens is um, they go away healing mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. After a quite deep session, there could be a few weeks of healing taking place after that. So it's not just the period of time that they're with me. It goes on. It actually, the whole process starts to unfold when they leave, you know, so
Mm.
that's what happens.
That's
That's what.
wonderful. It's lovely. Just when so many questions come to mind when you're explaining that, because I haven't been to bioenergy therapy, but I
Mhm.
have had a lot of other therapies,
Mhm.
and what does strike me, and having gone through breast cancer myself, I really,
Mhm.
and it echoes what you say there, that as you said, often people are coming, everything is starting sort of energetically first
Mhm.
as
Mhm.
before it manifests
Correct.
in the
Yes.
body,
Yeah.
and
Yes. Yeah.
it's the last place. So like you
Correct.
said, the person, it's amazing when someone comes to you and is saying,
Mhm.
I'm really not feeling myself. And
Mhm.
when they can trust that and the body doesn't lie, we know
Yes.
that the
Yeah.
body doesn't, what's
No.
that? The
No. No. No.
body keeps the
Exactly.
score. So they're
Mm.
sensing already that there is something off.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Well, basically, as you say, our body is our vessel, you know, and
Mm,
when we're getting a symptom, our body is actually, this might sound crazy, but our body is actually giving us heads up, you need to address something, you
mm,
know. So by the time it gets to the physical, there is mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects to creating the physical that's going on in the body. It's working and unraveling. Now, through the hidden mind, I would do a fair bit of that. So, the hidden mind is one of the therapies. So, the hidden mind is literally what it says, it's in the unconscious. So, the ways I could explain that to people would
mhm,
be when they come into me, what they're consciously aware of doesn't, it's not that it has to interest me, but what they're consciously aware of is fine. But it's what's in the unconscious that I work with.
mm,
And as I say, shine the light on that, bring the emotion, bring the period of time or whatever needs to be released, you know, be it trauma, hurt, grief, sadness, loss, breakup, relationship difficulties, you know, is usually it'll all go back to all of that kind of stuff, you know.
mm,
Um, and then the person will either acknowledge it or sometimes, you know, when they go, God, I'm not sure about that, you know, and initially I used to go, oh, Jesus, maybe I got that one wrong. But anyways, now I go, this is their energy or somebody else's energy, and it will guide me to, you know, the energy and the emotion that they're feeling will actually be relevant to what happened to somebody that was in their environment, but they've
okay,
taken the pain on as well. You
mm,
know, there's aspects of that, you know, so they could feel the emotional pain that's physically manifesting in them feeling it in their body, but not knowing how or why, because, you know, they had no injury. There was nothing that
Yeah.
caused it, you know, and or it could be their own stuff as well, obviously. Of course, more often than not, it is our own stuff that's creating this, our own pain. But, you know, when we see somebody we love so much, we try and protect them, we try and mind them, you know, and do as much as we can for them. Sometimes that ends up that we, and I would have been one of those people, okay, so that have
Mm.
taken on a lot of other people's pain, manifesting in a lot of my own anxieties,
Okay.
where I would be conflicted going, why is that? What is this? You know, and it'd be like this thinking going through my head that did not fit with me. So again, it's picking it up, but not realizing what's happening. It's
Okay.
quantum physics. This is science, you know, so
Yeah.
there is a
Yeah.
science behind it all. So yeah, that's I work with people in all aspects of that, and we don't realize, we actually do not realize that this is possible, but it is, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, very,
I
very
mean,
possible
it's
and
just
very real. Mm.
yeah, like when you it's so interesting there. One thing that strikes me, and I just relate it to my own, that's I
Mm.
only can relate it to my own experience, I
Mm.
suppose,
Mm.
is um firstly that sort of the whole area when you talk about there, like really brings up to me sort of boundaries and energetic, sort of a sense of developing that if you haven't
Mhm.
ever
Yes.
had any awareness, because none of us have been brought up, or I wasn't brought up with the
Mhm.
sense
Mhm.
of, you know, you need to sort of
Mhm.
be aware of all of that you're describing. And as
Absolutely.
young children, don't we, I just think back as a child, you do what you need to do to get the love and attention that you need as a child from your parents. So
Mhm.
unconsciously you're going to pick up behaviors so that you will
Right.
get the love, and they can carry through your life. Does that feature a lot with people who come to you?
100%. So much
Yeah.
so, you know,
Yeah.
and in my own life, you know, and I can tell you the story about my own life
Yeah.
and my daughter being born, and Ava having constant ear infections, you know, and that's the physical manifestation of the hurt and pain that I was carrying
Yeah.
when I was carrying Ava.
Yes.
So the unprocessed pain that I, you know, post-traumatic stress, anxiety, not even realizing that I had it, you know, that kind of way,
Mm,
you know.
mm,
I had
mm.
absolutely no idea, but, or that this is what can happen if you don't deal with your stress, if you don't deal with your anxieties, you know. So, yeah, so my little
Yeah.
woman was born and she was as cross and as cranky, but it was actually my pain that was filtering
Mm.
through her. And the ear infections, in my line of work, the ears are a sensory organ of the kidneys. And the kidneys,
Okay, really?
yeah, so
Okay.
even if you look at the ears, they're symbolic
Yes,
of a
yeah.
kidney, yeah, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but they're also symbolic of baby fetus, you know, so the
Oh, yeah,
body.
very. Yeah, God,
Yeah.
that you say it. Yeah.
Yeah, so you know, if somebody had a headache or something and they pushed or you know, rub the pressure points here, they will actually help ease and release the tension in the head if you go in the ears, you
Wow.
know. So yeah, but
Okay.
for Ava,
And that's
um,
fear, isn't it? Aren't the
yes, it
kidneys
is. Yes,
associated with
yeah,
fear? Yeah,
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 yeah. And
yeah.
I was riddled with it, you know, so absolutely
Mm,
riddled with it, and but not knowing that I
yeah,
was riddled with it, not knowing that this was anxiety, not knowing what anxiety was. And if somebody probably said it to me back in 2000, you know, well, Ava's carrying your pain, I'd be going, seriously, you know,
yeah,
what
yeah.
is going on here, you know? But it was conceived, thank God, um, shortly, about a year later, following an accident in our
Yeah.
family home.
Do you want to just, you don't have to go into whatever details you want to, but
Yeah.
just, I suppose, to give a bit of perspective here for people listening, that you had
Hmm.
gone through your own
Hmm.
trauma prior
Yes,
to her being
yes,
born.
yes,
Just maybe to
yes,
give a sense that you were carrying a lot,
yes,
obviously,
yes,
at
yes.
that time.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, yeah, our lives changed forever on the 9th of January 1999. My husband's nephew, Damien, I picked him up when we brought him out to the house, and um, Damien was killed instantly with a power hose, you know, so, well, power hose PTO shaft. Um, yeah, so as I said, our lives changed forever. With John and I were both 6 months
Oh my
married,
God.
and Yeah,
You were just
it
6 months
just,
married. Yeah, so you were
yeah,
very
just,
young. Yeah.
yeah, we're very, very young. I'm 52 now. Yeah. So 26 years married now, but it's, yeah, thought we could rule, not rule the world, but we thought we could conquer the world. We're still trying to conquer the world, but anyways, life experiences, but it changed both, John and I forever, and, it was lovely little Menin. But anyways, Damien was only 7.
He was 7.
And
Okay.
yeah, and yeah, his lovely mum was there with us on the day as well, but yeah, so that definitely heightened my anxieties. So as time went on, we went back to work. We buried ourselves probably in work, not even realizing that all of this stuff was going on. And so the more work we did, the more stress we had, the more anxiety that was heightened. So flashbacks
Mm.
started to happen. And
Is that like nearly the body sort of going, come here, you haven't
correct.
dealt with this. You
Yes.
haven't,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And I saw a little thing here, and because I was going on, Celine,
Mm.
I'm going to read this to you because it actually is everything what I'm trying to say. But it just say this little quote: people often don't realize there's a difference between general anxiety and anxiety associated with PTSD. For those of us with PTSD, it's not about what might happen, it's about what did happen.
Mm.
Telling a person with PTSD to just let it go because worry won't fix anything can be so confusing, because for a person with PTSD as opposed to general anxiety, this already did happen. So I'm just going to worry about it or not is okay, confusing. Yeah, because of things that cause the anxiety already happened. For us, it's not so much about worrying, it's about remembering. So the
Mm.
PTSD is remembering, so I'm pointing here at the head, so that's exactly it in a nutshell. So it's flashbacks that come. The
Okay. So it's a
flashbacks,
very different, sorry. Yeah, it's really good that you explained that. That's very,
yeah,
because
so both,
anxiety is often put down to just a bit of stress and anxiety, and you're trying to
mm,
control things,
yeah.
not what you're describing, which
Yeah,
is,
well, they're two different things, but they are,
yeah.
and I've had both,
Mm.
so,
Mm.
everybody has anxiety, by the way, because, but it's when it takes hold and you can't snap yourself out of it, you need to really, really um, address stuff in your life, address patterns, anxieties, emotions, thought forms, belief systems. There's so much that can cause anxiety. Um, for me, there was different events in my life that definitely post-traumatic stress disorder was huge, and that was very scary, Say, as I said, when Ava was born, we didn't know. I didn't know. I just thought she was a cross baby, and
And how long after, sorry, Marion, was that?
yeah.
How long
So
after was she born?
the 12th of February 2000, so 13 months, yeah.
13 months.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Jack came along in 2002. So December 2002. So you could say 2 years, 10 months later. And yeah, he was wild. Typical little boy, climbing and adventurous and all those kind of things, So different experiences, different events. Definitely my anxieties heightened as the kids came along. This is not kids are everything in my life,
Mm.
and
Mm.
kids and John are my life. And that's why I went on this journey, because I had to address something. But a therapist said to me one day, if you don't do it for yourself, do it for your kids. And Mother
Mm.
of God, they couldn't have said a more
Mm.
poignant thing, because that's why I went after. There's no way that I could let my kids ever go through this. Now they're going to have their own journey, but I don't
Mm.
want them carrying any part of my pain that may inflict them going forward, or um,
Mm.
if at all possible, I can change something in me that'll help them. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And how
So
quickly did that, sorry, so did you get any help at the time, or was there any awareness, or was there, did people even talk about PTSD then?
Not at all. I mean,
Oh, like
when
there was
I,
nothing then, really, was there?
well, there
You know, there
was,
was
there
therapy, I
was,
suppose, but
I always remember, my doctor saying, it's important to be nice to, myself, it's got, it was just like Damien died, and I'd say within 2 weeks we were back at work, into the throes of it. Go out, get drunk at the weekend, or, have parties, and I love it. I still love going out. I haven't drank in years, but that's my own choice. I still love the crack. I still love going out. I still love meeting my friends. They're so, so important to me. Oh my God, the best people and group of friends that have helped me through everything and never judged the thing that was going on in my head. They didn't actually judge me. Well, maybe they did, but certainly I didn't feel it. But they superb. It's absolutely superb. But
wow.
so how do we deal with it? That's what we did. He just got on with it, went out, had the crack, died death. You know, back into work again. Um, work all week. Obviously, meet up with the friends, and obviously everything with the kids and all that kind of thing. But
Yes.
that was just the ways it was. I certainly didn't know. Or if I did go to counselling, there was something wrong with me. I was a goner. But I'm telling you, when it came to the stage that I went for counselling, I was actually very happy to go to counselling.
And how long after, like, how long did you keep that going, that
Oh,
life
did I
of
keep that
working
going? There was
going?
different events. So I say when Jack, one particular day, so I'm trying to think now. Okay, yeah. So yeah, he was about 6. So 2007, 2008. Um, again, working, um, very, very hard, both John and I, trying to make what we thought was a better future for our children. When in actual fact, we were so busy working as well, we probably weren't around the kids as much as we wanted to be as well, So that in itself used to stress me to the hilt. But
So the
2000,
balancing, is it not being with them and being with them and trying
correct,
to,
yeah,
yeah, get
yeah,
the whole
yeah,
balance.
yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, so that was a huge thing. And again, I wouldn't let the kids out of my sight, so and then if they were out of my sight, I was worrying, oh my God, less than safe as whatever. As I said, Ava with ear infections used to cry so much, and John would go off and he'd drive with her during the night trying to settle her or whatever. And then when they'd be gone, I still couldn't sleep anyways until they came back, because I'd be worrying about them. So it was just a constant cycle. And the Ava's roaring could be maybe a week or two before you'd actually cough. It's an ear infection. Does that make sense? And yeah. So again, realizing all this is all relative, it's all life experiences. We had no idea at the time that our fear was impacting our children, physically. That was one side of it. Another morning, rushing, going out to work, and Jack was about to be potty trained, and he came out of bed, and laxatives still is, and he I said, come on, Jack, come on, get your clothes on, pull up the trousers or whatever, and next thing, like this flashback in my head, there was of the accident. And the flashback, it scared me because it seemed so real, but my head was telling me that this is what I wanted to happen to my son. And I'm going, this is my biggest fear. This is my biggest fear of anything ever happening. But this is what post-traumatic stress and anxiety is, So I didn't know that. I didn't
This
know
is
they
what I
come.
want. This is what it was sort of conveying,
Yes,
almost to
yes.
protect you.
But
Is
it
that
brings it up into the present.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brings it up into the present, So, and then because I was rushing, because I wanted to get Jack to the childminder or play school, and Ava to school, and get to work. So I was rushing. It wasn't all done in a calm way, and most times it isn't when you're rushing getting them all out. So, but what in my instance, my body, my mind threw this up into my head, and that scared me. That absolutely scared me. And then that's the day I went to the doctor, and I also booked an energy therapist, and
And did you know anything about, sorry, alternative or complementary therapies? There was
I was
obviously an
always drawn to
openness.
it.
Yeah, I
I
was going
was
to say
always,
there must have been
mm,
that you even entered
yeah,
into your head because
yeah,
many
yeah,
people wouldn't, not
no,
back then
no.
particularly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no. I suppose it was always associated with healers or, faith
well,
healer. My father would have gone to one, or,
yeah,
definitely would have that association. But it's really energy healers. That's what they are.
yeah, yeah.
What they are. That's what I
And a
am.
natural part
Yeah.
of Ireland and a lot of ancient traditions is the natural healing that,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I was always drawn to it. People would come. People would tell me the stories. People would tell me about life. That's
Mm.
that's just the ways it was, and sometimes I would hear somebody else's story. I could watch, I had to stop watching CSI. Do you know that kind of
I
way?
know.
Yeah, I just couldn't, because I didn't realize that even during the night I could be dreaming about it, so that's the impact, or that's how much, or how high my stress levels would have been as
Okay,
well,
okay.
you know,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
just these dreams. But it was the constant fear, living the
Mm,
constant fear based on what had happened, of it happening
yeah,
again, so
yeah.
then I, started. I don't know how I heard about. Well, I did hear about it. What you think about, you bring about you. So that's part about, and that freaked me altogether, because I couldn't stop thinking about it then, because this is what my head had told me, that this is what I wanted. So I had these horrible feelings within me. Couldn't tell anybody what my head was after telling me, and it scared me. It absolutely petrified me, but I still went to the doctor, because I was going, this is my biggest fear. This is not what I want,
Mm,
so it's the total opposite.
mm,
So anxiety starts with an original concern, a worry, fear, and anxiety. So the original concern, by the time it gets to an anxious state, it's so twisted from the original
mm,
concern. It's the opposite.
mm.
Anxiousness. To get
So
you
you're
get
saying with
on.
something with this, if it comes from PTSD, is that you're saying?
Yes, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. And
yes, yeah,
anxiousness, but you'll have the worst case scenario in
yes,
your head.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah.
for me, it because I had read that book, The Secret,
Mm,
uh what you think about, you bring about. I was absolutely freaked that I was going to be doing this in my head, was going to create the reality that,
mm.
the people around me. Um, so yeah, I went to the doctor, and yeah, he told me, he says, Marian, post-traumatic stress, and I was going, oh God, love
And did
him.
that
Because
register? Did you even know? I'm saying, did you know those words? But did you even sort of go, what? No,
mm, no,
no.
because anxiety to me was worry,
Mm,
you know.
mm,
Um,
mm.
so and this wasn't worry. This was, it's like, as I said, it was thwarted from my worry.
Yeah.
It was exaggerated, it was twisted, it had exasperated into something worst case scenario. And that's what I wanted at the time when I started my journey. I was going, I had no idea. So intellectually, quite clever, I'm okay. Um, Emotionally, I had absolutely no idea about anxiety. Yeah, we use it as a term. So
Mm,
anxious. Oh my God, I could get the rattles on the chest. I could get the aches or the pains or the headaches or whatever, which can be associated with anxiety as well. Um, that go over my head. But it had to get so bad for me, because I would have a good pain threshold until they got my attention. When I say they got my attention, my mind got my attention, and I needed to address stuff. So when the doctor said to me, you have anxiety and post-traumatic stress, I was going, I didn't tell him the whole story. I didn't really tell him everything,
okay.
because I was going, if I did, he'd lock me up and throw away the key. But anyways, but even what I told him, he was so right.
Mm,
But I'd gone to an energy therapist, and they told me the same. And my doctor, I went back after that. Oh yes, so the energy therapist was bringing up the emotion. So it was actually bringing up various anxiety attacks that I got over my lifetime. It was not all in one session, obviously. This happened over a period of time, over, counseling and talking through and working through my emotions and understanding who I was. what was happening, why was this happening, why did I loathe myself? There was so much stuff there prior to the accident even.
Okay, that's what I was going to
So,
ask you. Yes,
yeah,
even
yes,
before that. So there
yeah,
was that there as a baseline nearly before you went into this
100%.
huge
Yeah,
trauma.
yeah,
Okay.
huge trauma. And so yeah, to really trigger the anxiety, I suppose, yeah, when Jack was undergoing tests back in 2006, 2007. And those tests freaked me. I was so worried, but got through it. You get through the moment because you're on adrenaline. So when you
Mm,
come out of it, oh
mm,
my God, I started to unwind. And that's obviously the anxieties were flowing out of me then. And that possibly might have been one of the reasons why that came into my head that particular morning.
mm,
But it comes with a feeling. It's like a rush that comes through your body, and the feeling seems magnified, so
yeah.
much so that it never seemed real.
Mm.
Um, but
And would
going
you
back,
describe, sorry, would you just, when you say that that rush to me straight away, I get the sense that whatever that trauma that you went through, so all of that was just lodged in your body. Like it doesn't sound it ever found a way out. And
mm,
it's like a pressure cooker of,
right.
and then here it is at the back having these flashbacks going
Yeah,
like we can't keep going like
yeah,
this. Was that sort
yeah.
of, that obviously is how it, gradually builds up to,
But it does, it gradually
yeah.
builds up. There's different symptoms that happen, you know,
Okay.
and
And maybe for people listening, you might just mention a few
yeah,
because there could be people who are, have dealt with
absolutely.
something
And that's
very, yeah.
this was huge for me in the journey. But this was the scariest part was the symptoms of the anxiety.
Mm,
And everybody experiences it. There's multiple symptoms, but it's not until I started researching and going, it was like such a sense of relief. This is anxiety. Anxiety is not me, but it's attached to me based on my life's journey. Okay. So is differentiating, but when it gets to an anxious state, you're overstressed. You have unhealed pain. You need to address, you know, a lot of stuff. In my case, it was a lot of stuff. And so the symptoms were, first of all, was the flashback. That's the day when I said something seriously needs addressing here. As I say, the kids
mm,
would mean everything to me. And my head telling me the total opposite was total contradiction. And that was scary. So that's one of the symptoms.
mhm.
The other symptom, buttering, making the lunches for school, absolutely just out of the blue. It seems to be out of the blue. Um, I'm going, why am I so afraid of this knife? You know, what
Okay.
what is happening here? Never said it to anybody, but was so scared. So ignored it, continued on with my day, just like anything else, or not my day, or it could be the day or well, usually it was the evening time I'd have them ready for the morning. Um, so second time it happened, that might be once, and then maybe a month later, could be happen again. I never told anybody. Uh, and then you remember, the blocks, the timber block and the knives were in the timber blocks. I
Oh,
dumped
yeah.
all of them in the
Oh,
house,
right.
just threw them out in the bin. I was so scared, but realizing that this is a symptom of anxiety was huge as well. All listed, the autonomic arousal of the body in a perceived dangerous situation. So it's like a force that's within
Mm,
that comes through, and that attaching to a thought it makes it the most horrible feeling in the world. Do you know that
yeah.
kind of way?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes it real, or it makes it so scary. When you'd hear of um cases, I don't
Gosh,
judge.
yeah.
I certainly don't
Mm,
judge. So it's just somebody who's really overstressed, who's really reaching out, who is really suffering from anxiety, but people don't know that this is anxiety.
mm,
Because, I know from my own treatment room and people who've experienced this, And I'm talking about me, nobody else. But this is real. And people
Mm.
need to know that this is real.
Yeah.
They're not evil because they're feeling this way and
Yeah.
they feel they can't tell anybody
Yeah.
this. So it's all bottled up. And because it's all bottled up, it's magnified. So it's, as you said to me, it's like a pressure cooker. And next thing,
Mm.
this
But it
fear.
nearly, yeah, but it nearly sounds like the body is trying to protect you. Like when you described what happened, it's a genuine,
Mhm,
obviously, fear because of what
mhm,
happened with your
mhm,
nephew. So your
mhm,
body is like gone into, it sounds like this
mhm,
high alert that every
mhm.
situation is presenting the same possibility
Yeah.
will happen. So
Yes.
you nearly go, your body is sort of doing its job in one way, even though it's not healthy that way to live. But when
Yes.
when you describe it to me, I can go, well, I can sort of get that because after what you experienced, and if you haven't processed it and it's all in your body,
Mm, mhm.
you
This
know,
this is what happens. This
yeah.
is what happens, and I certainly know that, but I know that for a fact. I know,
Mm-hmm.
these are some of the symptoms, like, as I said, people experience the palpitations, people experience, the negative thought patterns, belief systems. They seem to be taken over. As I said to you, when people say to me, Marian, I just don't feel myself,
Mm,
um, or their thinking is irrational. And I go, why am I thinking this? Um, that also is something that's filtering through them from the environment that they're around.
yeah,
If they're fine, no particular reason, no trauma, nothing in their life, and they're experiencing this and they had no stress in their life, they've picked up on the energy of somebody else and Werner internalized it as their own, as a sensitive. It doesn't happen to
yes,
everybody, but
yeah,
it does happen,
yeah,
so, and but as you said to me, it's our body. When somebody gets sick, it's Werner, our body protecting us.
mm,
It sounds the opposite of
mm,
what we actually think, but we ignore everything until it gets to the physical. In my case, it
mm,
was the mental. And but nobody had ever spoken to me about anxiety. Nobody had ever, I'm not blaming anybody because this is my
mm,
life story, okay?
yeah,
But their needs, and I don't want to go down, need to bring it into
mm,
schools and things like that. If somebody came into me at school and said this to me, would I have listened? Probably not. You know,
mm,
unless you have some kind of experience of that feeling, it's very hard to describe it to
yeah.
anybody. Um,
And how
so
did that unfold for you then? So how did then
oh yeah, how would I.
end up on the journey to where you are?
Yeah, working with
You've
people.
obviously been working on yourself. Like
Yeah.
what
Oh
did
God,
you
yeah. I
do
did an
then?
awful lot of work to do on myself, so
Yeah.
an
So
awful lot
what
of
sort
work.
of things did you
What did
do?
I
So
do? Yeah.
yeah.
So first of all, when the doctor said to me, Marian, you've anxiety and post-traumatic stress, I was going, oh, like I said to you earlier,
Hmm.
um, if you really knew, this wouldn't be
And
anxiety and
did you
post.
tell him the full? You didn't tell, or did
No,
you tell
no,
him
no, no.
exactly what
Went out
happened?
of
No.
there fast as lightning. I got a
Mm,
prescription for medication, took one of them, and I actually felt sedate. So I was going, no, I can't live my life like this. I have to, do something else. So obviously went for the energy healing, and the energy healing started to bring up my pain, my emotional pain that had physically manifested over my lifetime in different things, different physicalities, and obviously Damien's accident, one of the biggest
mm,
tragedies, in my life. Um, it was huge, but I had gone for the energy healing, and as maybe about a week later, I went back to my doctor and told him, and he says, "Yep, it's fine. What's happening, Marian? It's releasing. You're releasing stuff now." And I was going, releasing what? What is he on about? I had no idea that it was actually my emotions that were releasing that was causing my anxiety. That my doctor was so
mm.
clued in.
God,
Brilliant.
your doctor was clued
Yeah,
in
oh, it's
at
so
that
brilliant.
time, weren't they?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he told me, he was a Reiki master himself. So for
Wow.
me, that was huge. And I said, "Does the energy work?" And he said, "Most definitely, but go easy on it." I didn't listen to the last bit. I went first, and it started to unravel so much more in my life, and
Mm,
for me, again, that was all scary because my pain was unleashing, but it was showing me why. I had physically manifested different things, why I self-loathed, why I was the way as I was,
yeah.
you
And did
know.
you start to get visions of it, or just you
Yes,
started?
yes,
Did you?
yeah, a bit of
Yeah.
both. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So after that, then the doctor says to me, I go easy on it, but he said, I'm going to send you actually for to a psychologist, for just to be sure. So went to the psychologist and she said to me, yes, yeah, Marian, you have anxiety and post-traumatic stress. And she offered me medication and I didn't take it. I said, I just want to see, can I work through this myself? And after my experience of taking the one tablet.
Mm,
And yeah, so I went on the journey of self-healing and here I am. This was it. So I went, but because my doctor was open to alternative as well as the conventional medicine. I do believe he saved me an awful lot. I do
yeah.
believe, yeah, he
Yeah.
really, really,
I
really did.
can't imagine too many doctors, and no disrespect, but just that isn't part of, the
Yeah,
normal, maybe,
uh,
I
yeah,
don't
I
know.
have to say my experience with them has been really, really good, so,
Mm,
but they certainly didn't knock it, so, and I do understand everybody has their opinion. Everybody has their opinion. For me, I just couldn't suppress what was going on because I needed, I don't know why. I don't know why, but I was going, if I suppress this, I'm always going to have this going on in my head,
mm, mm,
and so scared of it. But
mm,
I actually, Celine, to be honest with you, I didn't know what I was doing. But
mm.
I,
You knew what you couldn't do nearly in one way, it
correct,
sounds
yeah,
like. I,
yeah,
I
yeah,
can't do that. I don't
yeah,
know what.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That was it, so, and then
But
my,
isn't there an inner with I firmly believe that's the path for all of us. Ultimately, if you choose it, is back to that inner wisdom, like
mm,
trusting
mm,
yourself, trusting the body, trusting, when you can get to that place, yes, we need help. But
yeah.
when you start to realize like that, I never saw cancer as often people do. And everybody, again, totally entitled to your own
Mm,
perspective. I just think for
mm,
me, when it happened, I was at the end of my tether in
mm,
life, that it
mm.
actually made sense. It
Yeah,
wasn't easy. So I got it quite easily and it
yeah.
wasn't too traumatic in some ways. So, but it seems, yeah, and everybody goes on their own journey. There's no judgment with it at
No,
all.
not at
But
all.
I think it's at the end of the day, like as you talk about with your clients, even saying, isn't it the ultimate thing that you would like to see people get some sense of a life and of joy
Mm,
back as
mhm,
much as they
mhm,
can in their life?
mhm,
So,
mhm,
what you said about the medication, I know it has a place, and there have been many
mhm.
times when
Yes.
people need it.
Mm,
But personally, I don't know, but I just think in the longer term, depending on what it is, really, like, do you want a life of sedation?
yes. But for
It's
me, that's
I
what
mean, you
I
made a very
learned.
brave choice, I have to say,
Yeah.
like considering what you say you've been through.
Yeah,
Mm.
I was very frightened. I was very, very frightened. I was frightened of myself. I was frightened of what my mind was telling me. I was frightened, but I didn't understand why. I didn't understand what was going on.
And
Um,
who helped you unravel it? Was it through
yeah.
energy
Oh, yeah,
therapy?
it's true. And
And
once my doctor said to me, yeah, he said, Marian, yeah, he said, go easy on it. It's very powerful stuff.
yeah.
And I was
So you
going,
found someone good, obviously, though, who really
absolutely. Oh,
could
yeah.
help you
Yeah.
work
And I've
through.
met loads of people down through the years, some wonderful friends and people that I met in therapy, that kind of way. And some of my best friends now, because
Mm.
they happen to be therapists as well in their own field, obviously, because I would have gone to them, and now I'm a therapist, so yeah, they are some of my best friends,
Mm.
so it's been a wonderful experience because their experiences helped me in my experience. Does that make sense?
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, their
Mm.
knowledge, their wisdom, their information, their guidance, their, telling me what was happening. as it was processing, and releasing through my body, the energy brought up the stuff, but I had to voice it. So if
Yeah.
I kept it inside, um, there was no, I was only pushing it back down again,
Yeah.
so,
And
my
can I
saying,
ask you just about the releasing process as well as
mm,
talking to someone?
mm,
My sense when I suffered from anxiety in different ways and
mm,
different,
mm,
um, and a lot of suppressed emotion, which I think ultimately for me did end up in illness.
mm,
I know it
mm,
was a
mm,
life of that, but because I often hear and I felt it myself, and I think it's important even for people listening that sometimes when the pain is so much and for so long, the fear is if I go into this, I will die. I will never
absolutely.
come out of this. So
Yeah.
how did you find your way through it? Like if somebody now is listening and just going, I know there is something there from my past. I mean,
Mhm,
we all have something from our past, but there's a buildup and it's really shouting at me now.
mhm,
And it's
mhm,
like it's time. Because
mm.
it feels like what happened with you. There's a timing that we
Yeah,
don't always understand. It just
yeah,
shows up and it's
yes,
so
absolutely. So it's like I was backed into a corner,
mm,
and that's the only way. And over even years later, as years
mm,
went on, unless I was backed into the corner and I had to change, I had to do or I had to address something.
mm,
Uh, I was very near forced into it. To,
yeah. I
you
know.
know,
I think most of us
mm,
are. When it's
yeah,
painful, we're
yes,
human. It's very
yes,
difficult to say, yeah, I'll choose this and
yes,
I'll go when
yeah.
you don't know what you're choosing.
Oh my God. No, I had absolutely
Mm,
no idea. So when people are going through what they're going through is find a therapist that they trust, first of
okay.
all.
Mm.
Yeah. Um,
And you mean bioenergy? You mean like an actual talking therapist or like
a bit of
whichever?
everything,
Everything, yeah.
I do a bit of everything,
Yeah.
so as regards the emotions, I would, tap in to what emotion is causing their physical pain. So if they can bring me, I can, not that I can bring them back, but the energy will allow them to go back into that period of time. They will be able to identify that period of time in their life, and then the healing starts to unfold if they acknowledge it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after that, people with anxiety, yes, I would highly recommend that they do get counseling because they got to voice it, and it depends on the severity of it all as well,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
counseling is a wonderful tool,
Yeah.
um, but it's an outlet.
Mm.
It's to be able to express your inner, deepest, most feelings without judgment. But sometimes when people say come to me, they fear that I be judging them, and I am nobody to judge anybody, so based on my own life experiences, that that's gone,
But
all
isn't
I'm
that
here
the
to do.
biggest gift you bring to your clients? It must be one of the, I mean, nobody wishes what you went through or other traumas on anyone, but like it just seems at the same time, could you be like, or I don't know, do you ever think of it like this and say, well, if all of this hadn't happened, would I be doing this? Do you believe you would be?
um I was born in 1972, okay, and there used to be a big skit at home, like I was 12 pound 4, as far as I know, when I was born, so it took my mother a few days, I think, to deliver me, obviously in chronic pain back then, so I'm 52 now. I do believe I probably was resisting coming in here because of what I had to do. Does that
Mm,
make sense?
mm,
Do not, because not my work today, but my journey of healing,
yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah,
um,
absolutely.
because it's like the unraveling of stuff, of pain, of hurt, of life experiences, of, stuff that goes back, stuff that conflicts what you see and what you know
Mm,
and what you feel. And all of this was mixed messages throughout my life, so and part of my childhood was brought into who you are. Everybody's is.
mm,
Everybody's is. And
mm,
the conditioning that I had
mm,
given Ava and Jack, is based on my guidance and John's guidance, you know,
mm,
the stuff they like about us and the stuff that they may not like about us. So when they be stressed, they would handle the situations like we handle them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah.
Even though they may not agree with them. And these are behavior patterns that we had to become very, very aware of as parents. But because of our journey and because of our pain, we were forced to address them.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
So it was finding people that, as I said, my doctor, and I'm forever grateful, did back up the energy healing, and actually another doctor allowed me to rent a room in his clinic, as well. Any
wow.
surgery. So I used to work from a doctor's clinic, when I started off. So but it's so vast, Celine. More and more people are very, very aware that it's not an outside force like I myself thought that's creating what's going on in the body, be it mentally, be it physically, be it, pain in their back, to a pain in their big toe, to a sore throat, to a headache, to cancer, to anxiety, whatever. It starts here,
Mm,
you know.
mm. Do you
And
think more people, like I definitely think more people are aware, but it does take, doesn't it? I'm not saying I could have chosen to go, oh, poor me, and why me, and
yes.
why not someone else, and
Mm,
I lived a good life, and I've done this,
mm.
or you choose to go, okay, or something in you goes, yeah, well, I mean, I had not been very happy, and a lot of things had happened,
Mm,
so I felt like, oh, well, I just have to stop. But something in me knew there's more to this. This has been manifest from the life I lived
mm,
and the
mm,
experiences. But I just instinctively knew it. But it
mm.
just feels like it's a more empowering if we can. I'm not judging anyone who doesn't,
Yes,
but that does seem to be the journey. Ultimately, as a human, we go on to, as you said, everything's happening to me, and that's what I was. But more than, I'd say, everything's happening for me. It may not
yes.
feel like it. That sounds
No,
maybe,
no, no,
but you
no,
know what I mean? It's
100%.
helping you, you
Mm-hmm.
grow. So it
Mm-hmm.
sort of has to be that shift, doesn't there? That has
Yes.
to be. But it is where many people do end up, I think.
I, w-
We
so
hope.
much so, yes, yeah, because or the other thing is usually when people have exhausted the
Mm,
conventional medicine side, and they're feeling dreadful, and there's nothing more that they can do based on their qualifications to actually realize that there is something there that can actually help them. Just because it's not showing up in a machine doesn't mean that what they're presenting with is not real.
mm,
It
yes.
is,
Yeah.
it is very, very real, but it's a buildup of stuff, it's a buildup
Yeah.
of life
Experience.
experiences. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
can I,
Yeah.
so when
Mhm.
someone comes to you, you do hidden mind is working with the mind, obviously, in the unconscious mind, is it?
Yes, it's an energy
And
modality as well, energy healing
okay.
modality. So it is bioenergy, the hidden mind, Reiki, Rahini. I, done so many different
Mm,
courses throughout the last say nearly 2 decades. It was 2008 I started off, but
wow.
yeah. So it's I'm constantly learning because I don't know it all. I say the only time I know it all is when my 10 toes are cocked. But so that's it. But my journey here is obviously helping people going forward, so, and has been for a long time now. But that journey I had to start, I could do all the healing, I could go to all the therapists, I could go to, this one and that one to fix me. I'm not fixing anybody, I'm working with the energy, telling them what needs addressing, and the energy starts correcting any imbalance. And we work through sound therapy as well to help
Okay.
bring balance back into the system. So as that sound therapy is happening through vibration, okay, through
Mm,
through
mm,
vibration, it helps change the energy. But as change is happening, the person is shown what we spoke about
okay.
over the next few weeks, and they unravel that. They learn they either have to change something, or they go away for few months and I come back and say, another bad episode. But during that time, if they, in that moment of the release and the healing, if they don't learn to change that particular reaction to a situation, it's going to continue. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you're
So
sort of
that's why I
clear the
like to,
past, but then it's going to reoccur
yeah,
if you don't change the
yeah,
pattern or the
you know,
conditioning that's
correct.
been behind.
Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
so and there's so many patterns, and again, only because I work with this every day that I'm probably more consciously aware, but I still have to catch myself and going, "Oh, Marian, what are you doing that for?" Do you know that kind of way? Or um, I remember I just go to how the mind is so powerful and what it will do. Or I remember my mom being sick years ago, and during that interim, I lived on Club Orange for the week, you know, this particular period of time. So, anyways, the next time that she became unwell, found myself going back into the hospital, the same place. And the first thing I did was when I went to the shop, is went, and I hadn't drank Club Orange in about a year. But the first thing I went to grab was the Club Orange. And I was going, oh my God, you know. So this was a pattern, not a healthy one, you know, because I'm not saying, look, of course I drink
It's not the
soda and
worst,
things like
but
that. No, exactly. But what I'm saying is, it's just what the unconscious
mm,
automatically,
mm,
until I caught myself in it. So it's up to me to change it, buy it if I wanted it. But, you know, it's not the, you know, if it's full of sugar or whatever, or there's so much stuff you can look into, everything. That's just a
yeah,
simple example of
yes.
stuff that happens autonomically, you know. So it happens without us even realizing, because 95% of what's going on in our life is created from the unconscious.
I know, I know. But that's all the programming, isn't it? Like
Right.
I think, I don't know, my sense, I've never heard it mentioned as much as now, and maybe it's all the women I'm even talking to or interviewing or people I'm meeting. It's quite
Mm,
normal, not fairly normal to use programming and conditioning. You wouldn't have
mm.
used that before, but just to be aware through our education system,
Mm,
our family, our culture,
mm,
our history,
mm,
that
mm,
we carry all of
mm.
this. Like
Yes.
it's just,
Yeah.
it's really mind blowing, really. And when you touch on even the ancestral, I think
Mm. Mm-hmm.
just the way you described at the very beginning, that, you know, what gets you up every day and your family and your children are
Mm,
number one. And
mm,
then it's like, just after little Damien died, and you said that your two children came in very quickly
mm-hmm.
after that. Like
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like they came in
Mm-hmm.
that quickly, to say, nearly to save you, for
Yes,
want of a better word, so
without
that
a
you,
doubt.
because you
Without a doubt.
said the
Mm-hmm.
minute someone said to you, you
Mm-hmm.
know, well, if you're not going to do it for anyone,
Mm.
do it for your children.
Yes.
Like, you know, I've heard people say that a lifeline nearly is always given to us in the
Yes.
strangest ways, isn't it?
Yes.
That,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
you
Well,
know,
yeah, without a doubt, Celine, for that
yeah,
I'm sure, you know,
yeah.
you know,
Because it was so soon after, wasn't it, Ava
yes,
was
yes,
born?
yeah, yeah.
That,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, it
yeah,
was. And uh, our blessings, you know, so
yeah.
the two lovely, when they're in their 20s now, you know, so and it's wonderful. But everything both John and I suppose, have worked to was to, I suppose, save our family, to hold our lovely little family together. But it was a lot of work and a lot of pain for both of us to go through, you know, and to face. And, you know, not realizing that the 95% of stuff that was going on in our life was like a constant repeat
Mm,
based on our belief systems, you know. So based our reactions to stress and anxiety was based on what was here in the unconscious, you know. So for me, when the anxieties came up, the flashbacks, the post-traumatic stress, my head was saving me, really, because I was saying,
mm,
man, you need to address this, you know, you need to address it. There was going to be a physical manifestation, that I have no doubt, you know. There was,
mm,
um, you know, smear, there was um shadows showing up, you know, there was callbacks coming, you know, stuff I had to address, because I knew there were certain things that I hadn't addressed. But at that time, because I'm using this particular area, my own daughter, of course, Ava, whoever
mm,
referred to, you know, had gone through a difficult time in her cycle, you know. So I knew she was carrying my pain. I wasn't letting that happen, So stuff I had to address in my life, I had to address. And some of it can go back to our childhood,
Mm,
Some of it can go back to, as I said to you earlier, what I was seeing, what I'd experienced, and what would be portrayed to me or said to me was not matching. So that would even cause conflict in my eyesight, So, yeah,
yeah.
so different things. And it's only now I can see all this unfolding, unraveling, and it's the mixed messages. The
Mm,
other thing. So just say, for instance, John and I had an argument, and kids would come in from school. Um, I'd have a big smile on my face, even though I was probably so angry inside, or him, vice versa. They felt the argument, but I was smiling.
mm,
So that's a mixed message. So I'm not being true to who I am. So then they go on about mental illness, and but we are the ones. I'm not saying everybody is. I'm just saying we we think we're protecting our children by not being real,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but it's
And
actually
not trust.
sending,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's sending mixed messages.
Yeah.
So you're angry, but you're smiling.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
But
you
isn't that the
have
big
there.
shift, do you think, Marian? I'm feeling just in the times we're living in that
Hmm.
shift. So what you're describing there is nearly like you're giving, and I've noticed it with young people I know in my life now, even, and I've noticed with a lot of younger people, they're quite stronger in what they sense is right, rather than someone saying to them, no, this is the way it
Hmm.
is, and they're smiling and they feel, no, this isn't the way
Hmm.
it is.
Yes.
And I don't know, I seem to be coming across more younger teenagers who seem to have this stronger sense of trusting what they're feeling.
Oh, thank God. And that's so good,
Yeah. So
So,
I don't know
so
if that's a common, do you treat, or do you have teenagers or young people
yes,
coming to you?
from a few weeks old baby
Do
to,
you?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
babies to the oldest, I think I've 92-year-old male, so it
Wow.
doesn't matter whatever is going on, there's a
Mm,
blockage in energy.
yeah.
And for me, do I see it? I treat teenagers all the time.
Mm,
I treat children all the time. I treat babies all the time. It doesn't, it's just, the kids will come and probably present with, like Ava, near infection. So, and that's actually what happened. I brought Ava to an energy therapist on my husband's request that I had refused for months to do because I was going, oh, I'm so afraid of it, and but antibiotic after antibiotic after antibiotic, and nothing was happening, except Ava was getting worse. And one, around the bioenergy, it's the first night she slept in months and months. Well, that's John. So he really got me into this,
yeah, that's
to
incredible.
himself. It is incredible, and himself, his own back would have gone, so we'll just say about 35 years ago. And
Mm,
for him, after about 6 weeks laid on his back, energy treatment he went for, and he swore by it. So
mm. And
again,
would that have been, that sounds like, well, you're back, isn't it? The sort of support that
yeah.
maybe that feeling of trying to hold it all together and support a family and
That's
everything
it.
that had happened, it's straight
Yes.
away.
Yes, 100%. Well,
Yeah.
there's different areas of our back. So here we have
Okay.
you shoulders. Okay, we're
Yeah.
kind of the weight of the world on our shoulders.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Sometimes
say that. Yeah.
yeah, and again, it's a metaphor. You often hear the older generation, they'll tap themselves there. I have such a load on my chest, and literally, I can feel
Mm,
the energy. And when I talk to people, it's getting that load off their chest. They need to voice it. So do you get what I'm saying?
of
So we'll
course.
move
Yeah.
down here. The upper area of the back is lack of emotional support. Come down to the middle of the back and say under the breast strap or whatever, we're stuck in the past, or we're carrying guilt. Guilt is a wasted emotion. You can't change it. Um, but acknowledge it, and you're breaking this, whatever, this feeling
Mm,
that you have, because you're with somebody who you can trust. And the
mm.
lower back is usually feeling safe and secure. Um,
Like your foundation
Financial,
nearly, is
yeah,
it
it's a
coming down?
foundation, financial
Yeah.
stability. You know, it's all about being able to stand on your own 2 feet, really. so the lower back and feeling grounded, so our legs carry us forward in life, our hips, that's our job, to move forward. The right side and the left side mean different things, the male and
Masculine
female
from,
balance, in our life, the balance, and our organs, the lungs would be grief, sadness, loss, depression. The kidneys, obviously, I was as a child, I was hospitalized for months at a time, and didn't have no idea. So I was riddled with fear. But that fear happened because when I was born, of 6 months old, my home house was burned to the ground. So um, I was with neighbors at this particular day, and again it was January, so I was only 6 months old. Um, so my parents had built a bathroom onto their house that they had bought, gone in to get a bathroom suite and to go away, and when they came home there was 3 fire brigades in the yard. Everything they had was gone. So everything, everything, everything. And mom collapsed apparently at the gates. And so I'm sure at the time she was probably given something to help her get through all this, I carried unconsciously their fear. And they did everything, probably, I've no doubt, to try and cope and get through it. And back then, nobody paid, 50 years ago, 52 years ago, nobody was paying for insurance. It'd be a waste of money or something like that, So, yeah, so getting through that. So I definitely, as a child, was hospitalized with kidney infections. Now I know that it was the fear, you know. So when it was embedded in me at such a young age, and because of my entry into the world, again, because I was such a big baby and the traumatic birth, that was happening from day one.
Yeah.
I was stuck in trauma from day one, So entry, pain, loss, my mother, hearing my mother's pain. Again, I would have gone through all that, going through the fire 6 months later, going back, being reared. I was then probably not with my parents for a long period of time. I'd have been back with my grandparents, and I loved them very, very much. I probably preferred there more, than, again, maybe because of all the stress that mom and dad, I'm sure, were going through.
Yeah.
I probably felt a calm sense of peace with my grandparents back in their lovely place, vegetables, gardens, turf. I could be doing that, and Granny let me go paint in the lad's room, she used to call it, different things like that, as a young. So I grew up with that. But yeah, for months at a time, the kidneys would go, and huge kidney infections. And then at the time, nobody come to visit you. You're in hospital, cars, buses out the country.
Yeah.
So you're in hospital as a child, and then you feel alone.
And abandoned, I
And
suppose, and all of
yeah,
those things come
yeah.
up, don't they? Yeah.
And do you acknowledge that? No, because you don't think it's real, So you get through life and you grow up, and one thing after another, all of this unhealed pain, and other stuff goes on. And as I said, stuff that you see, experience, live through, not matching up. My eyesight was a huge thing,
Wow.
So yeah, was a huge thing. So from a young age, so it was conflicting.
Yeah.
It was very,
Yeah.
very conflicting. So yeah, so I went on, continued on with my life, and came into my teenage years. And yeah, thankfully, I went working in insurance. And if you ever want to employ somebody in the insurance environment, an anxious personality can be a good person to employ,
Yeah.
because you'll
Yeah.
actually make sure
Yeah.
you will cover every angle,
Yeah. Yeah.
So from that perspective, I loved it. I thrived in it, and I suppose I started living. But then as you get older, so you get your job, you meet your partner, you become married, you have children, you have mortgages, and you have commitments and your responsibilities. All of that coupled with pain, stress. So all of that happening without any trauma is stress.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the world we are in, which is a sort of a crazy sort of world, is sort of designed nearly, I think, to keep us in that
Absolutely. In that
sort of
cycle.
sense of
Yeah.
fight or flight
Yeah. Yeah.
always.
Always. Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, as I saying to you, that happening is for a person who has never endured anything apart from, and we per se, a normal upbringing, so
yeah. If there's such a thing, because like
yeah,
you
you know
said,
what
with
I'm
the
saying. Yeah.
ancestral and the
Mm,
parents, haven't they?
mm,
We all come, I heard that said, from victims of victims of victims, in the
mm.
sense that everybody carries something,
Something.
and our parents carry it from their parents.
Yes. Yes.
So that ancestral, I think, is an important one as well. And you talked about that at the beginning, I think, as well,
Mm,
how just the awareness of yourself
mm-hmm.
and John, even around, we don't want to pass this on,
Mm,
pass this
mm-hmm.
on to our children. And it's not about, just for anyone listening, I think an important message in
Mm.
all that you're saying about all of these things, there's no blame with any of this.
No.
But the whole point is that if you're feeling off, the sense I would get what you're saying
Yeah.
is, if you're feeling something's off, that is the time, even if nothing is showing up in your
Yeah.
body, go and see a bioenergy
Yeah.
therapist or
Yes.
someone
Mm.
that understands that things happen, all things that ultimately will manifest in the body. Everything is connected.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And I'd say our aura is
yeah,
so vast. Okay. So
yeah.
7 chakras, 14 meridian fields, seven or auric fields. Okay. So all of this is there. It's energy. um, Everything starts with a breakdown in our energy system, and causing, as I said, usually when people come or when they can't drag their leg after them or their back is aching or that's usually when they go. But if they feel anything, and this is not about saying go to me, Marian Trench, there is so
Mm,
many doing
mm,
this
mm.
work that
Lovely to
you
see
can,
that.
yeah,
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 yeah. It's
there's so,
really,
so, so many
yeah.
doing this work. It's just go out there and look after yourself.
Mm,
As I said to you earlier, I started this off, you can go to anybody, you can come to me, go to Celine, go to Sharon, Mary, whoever,
mm,
and
mm,
whatever. But it's what I'm saying to you, we can do all this healing, but if we don't love ourselves, it's not going to happen.
mm.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
But
we are
can't the healing, I would have sensed that, like, if you're, that the healing can help that process of
correct.
loving
Oh yeah,
yourself,
absolutely. Yeah.
because then you start to see that none of this is you, and none of this
Yes.
was your fault, and none of
Correct.
this is, so
Yes.
the ability to love yourself comes back. But when you're
Yes.
believing all of this is your
Correct.
fault, or you did something wrong,
Yes.
it sort of has to
100.
happen, doesn't it,
Yeah,
first?
absolutely.
Mm,
And that's
mm.
that's the
Well,
bit,
that's a
Celine.
beautiful gift to give people listening, to say, just to know that
Yeah.
when you heal all of this and release all of what is
Yeah.
not you
Yeah.
and came to you through family or conditioning or
Yes.
experiences,
Correct.
you will find it
Absolutely.
easier to love yourself. Isn't
100%.
that? Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
that's what it's about. As I just say to people, or, mothers that come in, fathers that come in, doesn't matter. Okay, just using that
Mm.
as an example. But so I go in and check self-love, it could be 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, whatever percent. Okay. So we just go, I'm just using that as an analogy.
You
Okay.
check that energetically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so we work with the self-love, but I would say, and they'd say, yeah, that'd be about right. Some people self-love, me, myself. So I'm not saying everybody, I'll bring it back to myself always. Um, I said, could you imagine your daughter coming in here or your son and they telling me that they only loved themselves 5% and self-loathed 95, and they'd be devastated. And I said, could you imagine that? Well, monkey see, monkey do. So you've got to start. You have your car parked out there. You will put clean diesel in it, because if you don't, it'll start spluttering. You know, you will change the tires in it, because if you don't, you'll start skidding around the place. But you will service it, because if you don't, it'll break down. And that's a machine. But somehow, somewhere, you think you're not worthy, but you'll put it into a machine. That doesn't make sense. that does not make sense, you know. So we got to start looking at ourselves. We've got this wonderful vessel, and there's so much that makes up this vessel. As I said, our mental, emotional, and physical, spiritual beings. That's who we are. That's our anatomy. Whether we like it, know it, want it, or believe it, it's fact. That's just the reality. Start looking after it. You know, not abusing it. Not, you know, we feed it shit. We listen to shit. We eat shit. I do it all. You know, that kind of way. But there's an awareness there that, you know, mine, watch it. You know, that kind of way. I hone in. Be aware, try and do my meditations, try and get my walk in, try and get fluids into my system, healthy fluids, you know, try and eat as healthily as I can. But does that happen all the time? No. But if I try 90% of the time, yeah, okay, I do feel I am actually beginning to love myself more, that I'm worthy of doing that. So that's self-love, you know, so that's aspects of it, you know.
And are there
And
just even, we'll be finishing up soon, but
yeah.
just in terms of like as well, when you're saying that, if people feel, are there sort of warning, you know, if you find yourself going off balance again, are there certain warning signs that you would say warning signs sounds a bit,
Yes.
I don't mean
Well,
that to
there
be
is.
too,
Yeah.
but little things to go pay attention if you're
Yeah.
feeling
Yeah.
certain
Well,
things happening
first of
again.
all, I know a late night will throw me off, you know.
Mm.
And do I do them? Yeah, I do. But I need
You do it
to.
consciously now rather than
Yeah, correct.
unconsciously.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that in itself, I know where to hone in. And actually, I need to repair my body. I need to get sleep pattern going good, you know, or, you know, if I can get a walk in the following day, or just plug in a meditation, just relax, zone out, but get my energy back up
Mm.
instead of abusing it and maybe going out again, you know, so, and doing it all over again, which was my pattern. You know,
Mm.
so as a warning signs, yeah, exhaustion, tiredness. That can happen after a busy day in the bog, or it can happen after a busy night out, you know, until all hours in the morning. So it's work, rest, play. Try and keep the balance as best we can. We can overwork. I can still overwork, you know. And if I
Mm.
do, why am I doing it? You know, that kind of way. I'm no good to the people that are coming to me. I'm no good to me, and I'm no good to my family. So I try and keep it in balance as best I can. I do understand that sometimes people do need something urgently, and yeah, I will facilitate that. But I try and balance my work more than I used to, if per se. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Um, what do I need to do? Rest. Rest is such an important part of it all, you know. But somehow the Irish psyche thinks you are unworthy of rest.
Mm.
Or and I was so like that, you know, unless I was working, I wasn't any good. Nobody loved me anyways,
Yeah.
you know, that
Yeah.
kind of way.
That's
And
part of our culture, I think, isn't it?
yeah,
Really, you know, and
yeah.
how
I
we
didn't
go.
deserve love
Yeah.
rather than nobody
Yeah.
loved me. So I was no good to
Mm.
anybody unless I was working,
Mm.
and I love
Mm.
work because that's all I knew. And that's all.
Mm.
But in that interim, that's how I used to zap the energy of everybody else's, because part of me wanted them to burn or need me as well.
Yeah. That does,
So,
sorry, just I just wanted to touch on that before we
mm,
finish up because I think it's so important, and
mm,
I think it's a lesson we all have to go. It's around that whole thing of energy because everything is energy. And
mm,
it's become so clear to me as well in recent years how I've probably at times, maybe through codependence, sucked
yes,
energy off. There's a whole dance that goes
yeah.
on in our relationships, isn't there? And many of it is unconscious. But it
Mm,
does seem that's the growing up part now. I've become in my life very aware in the past through getting ill where I was being very drained. So what can you say to people around that? That it's just even an awareness around, I suppose it's a responsibility really around
yeah,
our energy, isn't there?
yes, 100%.
About
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
For me, again, it was something that happened over time that this huge awareness came, you know, and not even realizing that some of my anxieties were probably not my own, but filtering through me. Okay. Um, it felt very uncomfortable in the thinking. And when my thinking or my tummy is going off, um, I go, what's that about? You know, could be sitting down and you go, where did that come out of? You know, it's actually, it could be, or it could be in the supermarket going down, and you're absolutely fine going in, and next thing you just get this. eerie feeling, or your tummy is going off in a knot.
Mm-hmm.
You're filtering through, you've picked up on the energy of somebody else's pain unconsciously. Okay, so the awareness is now the tummy's going off. I have no reason for it. Okay, Marian, what have you got to do? God, clear my energy. I can't carry this. Take it off me. And then without me analyzing it or over analyzing my thinking, it's a wasted energy and then it goes straight away.
It's when
So
we attach the thought and the story, isn't it? We hold it.
yes. And that's
Mm,
what I used to do. Go, why is this? Oh, Mother God, why am I feeling there's something horrible? There's something bad. But for me, it was the part of differentiating also whether it was my intuition or whether it was me or whether it was pre-warning me. That was the other
mm,
thing.
mm.
And that scared me actually as well. But so is there something? Yes, there is. I would have gone on a course with the lady therapist Juliana J. Dunn in Clare years ago. And yeah, it was all about protecting our energy. And I was great for a while. And then Marian slipped back, totally forgot all about it. And then, woo, absolutely wiped, but not knowing why. And not knowing why, but even the sense of awareness that this is real. But for me, the other thing that I do is when I finish work is in the shower, you know,
Mm.
wash, I just say wash everybody's energy off me down the gully, transmute it. That's my intention. I wouldn't even be talking
Yes.
about loud,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
that. But the difference you feel,
Yeah.
it's unreal. It brings you back to me. So it's just me then, and I'm here, and I'm better for my family,
Yeah.
when I'm here and my energy is cleansed. The other thing is the Merkaba, so people can look that up. It's old ancient sacred geometry that makes it up, and the like 13 archangels is part of you'll see the circles within it, so the triangles. Uh, it's very good, it's very interesting, but it's about balancing the male and the female when in us, as well as um protecting our energies consciously and unconsciously. And so it just gives me a sense of awareness, or even if I hit off it, it's like you can get a little middle, but it's a
Mm,
symbol. That's
mm.
that's really what it is.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
symbol called the Merkaba, and it's very powerful. But as I said, even if I hit off it, it's gone. Just watch your energy there, Marian. Because I could be watching the news,
Mm.
and
Don't watch the news.
no, I don't. I actually
I've
don't
stopped
either.
watching the news. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't either, but bad news sells, unfortunately,
Mm, mm,
and so I could be in the car. Normally I have Spotify on, but that's not always the case. But my phone usually picks it up straight away, and if the phone doesn't pick it up, the news could be on, and I driving along. But here it'll give me a pang in the tummy. So there's
mm.
nothing that I can do for whatever that person is after going through, except say a prayer, light a candle. I'd write their name down. I don't even know their name, but I just say person in county, whatever. So I've handed it over and asked the light to go and help them. So the light for me is
Mm,
God or Lady.
mm.
That's as good as I can do for them from a distance. But by me taking on that pain and internalizing it and feeling it, I'm not serving them nor me.
Yeah.
But so it's actually a huge awareness for me, So, but our kids are most vulnerable to all of this because they are sussing everything out. And I get people coming into me and they'd be winking. I did it myself. They'd be spelling out the words in front of the kids because they don't want the kids. The kids know. I do believe that the kids bring the parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
yeah.
yeah.
I think that
And
I don't
mm,
have children, but I really believe children are our greatest teachers. I really do.
yeah, absolutely.
They're very,
So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, Ava and Jack has been for us. And
Mm,
yeah, Celine, that's basically some of the
yeah.
story. There's, the reason I talk publicly about this is because if I knew half of the stuff back then in 2008 is what I know now, my journey may not have been as difficult, so I have no problem speaking about the symptoms, but it took me a long time to actually open up and say them aloud, that kind of
Mm,
way. It's because I was so scared. I was scared of being judged. I was scared
mm,
it's just me. I was scared I was evil. I was scared. But nobody says, they say mind your mental health, but they don't actually
mm,
tell people what it is.
yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
the thing, you know. It's not even, you don't even think it's mental health. You think it's you're not a nice person, you know.
Mm.
Because you have these thoughts going on, but it's actually what's going on is anxiety, you know. So
Yeah.
it's the symptoms
It
of
has
an
an
anxiety.
underlying,
Correct, yeah.
I suppose it's
So
people, yeah.
yeah, post-traumatic stress or general
Mm.
anxiety. So for me, I had both, you know.
Mm.
So and so as I
But
say,
it's, yeah.
thank you for inviting me on to do this. I know I've said it to you earlier about the book Awaken Your Wellbeing. It probably goes into a
Yes.
little bit even more detail. That
I'll
one of
put
the
a link to
co-authors,
that and
yeah, have you
everything
put a
in
link?
this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
beautiful book.
that book, as I said, just gives a little insight into more of the symptoms maybe than
Yeah.
mentioned there
And if
today.
people can reach out as well to you, I'll put
Mm.
all those details here. Do
Mm.
you do sessions on Zoom if people want to connect with you, or is it mainly in person?
Yeah, I do Zoom.
Yeah,
Okay, I love to have the person here with me. It's
yeah,
my preference,
yeah,
you know. So,
yeah, yeah.
you know, but
But it's
yeah,
even to open up and just share so people can find someone else somewhere else if they aren't near
absolutely,
you.
100%. I mean, no, I have done and go
Yeah,
for open that up, you know, so
yeah,
worldwide. But
yeah,
my preference is to have them in person. You know, I just,
yeah.
but no, great success stories from
Yeah.
you
But
know,
you in itself, just for you, and thank you for being so open and sincere and sharing, because I just firmly believe it's helped me. I think it just, we help and support. This is how we do it, is by
mm,
each of us
mm,
sharing our stories. And
mm,
then we sort of take the whole stigma out of talking about things that
absolutely,
are part of being human. And just one last question that just
yeah,
comes to me is, in all of this and everything you've been through, like, my God, it's just hard to even, and
mm,
you just look so bright and full of joy, and I suppose you're giving back in so many ways. Is, what to you is it all about? So the whole life experience, you've been
what
through,
is
how
it
would you
all?
describe you, for you, how do you, what
My
is it all
whole life
about?
experience it has definitely been a journey, you know. Um, I do believe that part of my psyche knew coming in probably what I had to do and the brakes on, you know, because I was going, oh my God, this overwhelming. Part of me probably felt all the anxiety, you know, even as a child. Maybe now when I look back, you can only when you look back, you'll actually see probably the answers
Mm,
better than when you're in it. I probably knew all of this all of the time that this was probably going to be my path. So I go back to the question, Celine, what has it been all about? I
yeah, what do
think
you
for
see
me,
the whole purpose of you
oh, the
coming
whole
in your
purpose is
life?
my
Yeah,
story has been
and
obviously
life, your life that you picked,
mine,
or
my life.
maybe
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah,
however you
yeah,
view it.
yes. It's obviously to help others now, you know. I truly believe that. Uh, I never envisaged that. Um, but I know when people come to me, um, I know that there has been too much pain for it not to have any reason, you
Mm,
know. Um, as I said to you earlier, I thought I was a goner. So gracefully, periodically, over time, um, and through meeting the most wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people and friends, uh, I've got to hear through their guidance, through their intuition, through their wisdom, through their support, through their having my back. And there's a lot of people that didn't have my back, you know. So a lot of people, wonderful sister and brother, and you know, supported me. Um, and for that I'm grateful. But I'm here. I truly believe, yeah, I'm here. Part of my journey is because of my journey, because of the pain, because of the extent or the vast array of life experiences that I have gone through, I suppose. Um, there has to be a reason, and this is why I do this work today, because there was no other reason. There was no other reason, you know. The reason of my own healing journey was for my family, my immediate family. And even at that, I wasn't, it wasn't about change, it was about me getting better. But then as it all started, I realized that I had to make changes, you know. So the changes, they're probably the hardest thing, you know. So to address. But the purpose of it truly is for me to be able to sit with somebody in a room and allow them the space to make the most out of me. You know, as I say to them, make the most of me while you're here, make the most of the payments, and we throw as much out that window as we can. You know, and that's it. And just trust me. Trust trust me as much as they possibly can, you know, and because as I said, I'm certainly not judging anybody. And who am I to judge, you know? So that's basically it, you know. But life experiences happen to us and for us. Brought a big, huge life change into my life, you know, and that's really, as I say, first of all, initially my children, second of all, and my marriage and our home and everything. The rest of it obviously is for everybody else, whoever comes to me, you know. So
Thank you. I know many more will as well. Not that you've had such a thank you so much. And it just shows giving people, I suppose, hope, and there's always possibility, even in the face of the darkest. And it mightn't feel like it if somebody's in it right now, but maybe just hearing and seeing you might give a light at the end of the tunnel, which I'm sure
yeah, Celine,
it will, because there
I,
is for all
I
of us.
used to always say, if this can happen to me, this is happening to others, you know. People need to know this, and this is actually the only reason. It was about me using my voice, telling people what can happen, telling people if this is happening, this is not you. This is actually the anxiety. You're separate to it, but it grasps onto you to hone you in to address something that you need to address or change within yourself. And none of us like to acknowledge the stuff. But as you said earlier, when you come out and you start actually liking the person you are, you realize that this stuff wasn't even your own.
Yeah, that's really the biggest. So thank you so much,
Marian.
Marian. I could stay talking to you.
Yeah, no, it's not. Well, anyways, look, I am going. Oh, well, Lordy. Yeah. Anyways, yeah.
Thank you everyone for watching and listening, and I'll put all of Marian's details in the description box here, so you'll be able to connect with her. And just thank you. I really appreciate your time and generosity to because sometimes, sorry, just finish and say we can say what we want, but unfortunately it seems we have to sometimes experience a lot of things to be in that place where we can really empathize with somebody else and where they're at. And so thank you for that gift.
Not at all. Thank you, Celine, and thank you for having me. Thank you for everything.
My pleasure.
And so good to have met you as well.